If you stay away from problems and noise, turn off the light and put on an earphone, you will have done yourself a favor. Let's begin. The journey of a poor young man to a successful entrepreneur. Lessons in honesty, integrity. David was born into a poor family of 6. He grew up in a small village on the outskirts of a bustling city. His father was a laborer who worked long hours every day to provide for his family. His mother was a homemaker who took care of the household and the children. David had 3 younger siblings, 2 sisters, and a brother. Despite their poverty, David's parents always emphasized the importance of education. They believed that education was the key to a better future and a way out of poverty. David was a bright student, and he loved to learn. He studied hard, and his efforts paid off. He always topped his class, and his teachers were impressed with his dedication and enthusiasm. David dreamed of going to college and pursuing a career that would enable him to support his family and provide them with a better life. However, David's dreams were shattered when his father fell ill. He was diagnosed with a severe case of pneumonia, and his condition worsened with time. David's family could not afford the expensive medical treatment that his father needed, and they were forced to borrow money from their neighbors and relatives. David dropped out of school to work and contribute to the family's income. He took odd jobs like delivering newspapers, washing cars, and selling vegetables. Despite the hardships, David never lost hope. He remained optimistic and worked hard to support his family. He was determined to save enough money to pay for his father's medical bills and fulfill his dream of going to college. David's relentless efforts paid off when his father's health improved, and he was able to return to work. David continued to work hard and save money. He had a natural talent for business and entrepreneurship, and he used his skills to start a small business selling clothes and accessories. He managed to earn a modest income, and he invested his profits back into his business. David's business grew, and he soon became a successful entrepreneur. He expanded his business by opening more stores in different parts of the city. His hard work and determination paid off, and he was able to support his family and provide them with a comfortable life. David never forgot his roots and remained humble despite his success. He continued to work hard and give back to his community. He funded scholarships for underprivileged students and donated to charity organizations. David's journey from a poor young man to a successful entrepreneur was not easy. He faced many obstacles and challenges, but he never gave up. He remained determined and focused on his goals. His story is an inspiration to many, and it teaches us that with hard work and determination, anything is possible. Chapter 1. A Family in Need. David was only 16 years old when his father fell ill. It was a cold winter day, and David had just returned from school when he saw his mother crying. She told him that his father had been coughing for days and that his condition had worsened. They didn't have enough money to take him to the hospital, and they were afraid that he might not make it. David's heart sank. He knew that his father's job as a laborer was their only source of income, and without it, they would be in deep trouble. He hugged his mother and promised her that he would do everything in his power to help. David's father was taken to a local clinic, but the doctors there couldn't do much. He was diagnosed with severe pneumonia, and he needed to be admitted to a hospital immediately. The hospital bills were exorbitant, and David's family could not afford them. David knew that he had to act fast. He dropped out of school and started looking for work. He took up odd jobs like delivering newspapers, washing cars, and selling vegetables. He worked long hours every day, trying to earn enough money to pay for his father's medical bills. Despite his hard work, David was not earning enough. He knew that he had to think of something else. He remembered that he had a talent for business and entrepreneurship. He had always been interested in selling things, and he knew that he could use his skills to earn more money. David decided to start a small business selling clothes and accessories. He used his savings to buy some inventory, and he set up a small stall in the local market. His business was slow at first, but he never gave up. He worked hard to attract customers and improve his products. David's business slowly grew, and he soon had a steady stream of customers. He used his profits to buy more inventory and expand his business. He opened a small shop in the market, and he hired some assistants to help him. David's business was a success, and he was able to earn enough money to pay for his father's medical bills. His father's health improved, and he was able to return to work. David's success did not go unnoticed. People in the village started to talk about him, and he became an inspiration to many. His story gave hope to those who were struggling to make ends meet, and it showed them that with hard work and determination, anything was possible. Chapter 2. The Entrepreneurial Spirit. David was always on the lookout for new opportunities to expand his business. He knew that he had to be innovative and creative if he wanted to succeed. He spent his free time reading books about entrepreneurship and business management, and he used the knowledge he gained to improve his business. One day, David heard about a new shopping mall that was going to be built in the city. He saw this as an opportunity to expand his business and reach a larger audience. He visited the site and talked to the construction workers to learn more about the mall. David knew that renting a space in the mall would be expensive, but he was determined to make it work. He prepared a business plan and presented it to his family. They were hesitant at first, but David's passion and enthusiasm convinced them to support him. David used his savings and took out a loan to rent a space in the mall. He hired a team of designers to help him set up the shop, and he ordered new inventory to showcase in his store. David's shop was a success from the start. People were drawn to his unique products and his excellent customer service. David spent long hours in his shop talking to customers and understanding their needs. He used the feedback he received to improve his products and services. David's shop became the talk of the town, and he was soon featured in local newspapers and magazines. He became known as the young entrepreneur who had turned his small business into a success. David's success did not come without challenges. He faced tough competition from other businesses in the mall, and he had to constantly innovate to stay ahead. He also faced the challenge of managing a growing business while taking care of his family. But David never gave up. He remained determined and focused on his goals. David's success also brought some unwanted attention. He started receiving threats from local gangs who demanded protection money. David refused to give in to their demands and reported them to the police. The police were able to arrest the gang members, and David's shop was safe again. David's story is a testament to the power of the entrepreneurial spirit. He was able to turn his small business into a success through hard work, determination, and innovation. His story shows us that with the right attitude and mindset, we can achieve anything we set our minds to. Chapter 3. Love and Loss. As David's business continued to grow, he met a young woman named Sarah. Sarah worked in the mall, and David often saw her when he visited his shop. He was immediately drawn to her kind smile and her warm personality. David and Sarah started talking, and they soon became close friends. They shared their dreams and aspirations with each other, and they found that they had a lot in common. David was smitten with Sarah, and he knew that he wanted to be with her. David finally mustered up the courage to ask Sarah out on a date, and she said yes. They went to a small cafe in the mall and talked for hours. David felt like he had known Sarah forever, and he was amazed at how well they got along. David and Sarah started dating, and their love continued to grow. They supported each other through thick and thin, and they became each other's rock. But tragedy struck when Sarah's mother fell ill. Sarah's mother was diagnosed with cancer, and she needed expensive treatments to survive. Sarah was devastated, and David knew that he had to do something to help. David used his business skills to raise money for Sarah's mother's treatment. He organized a charity event in the mall and sold his products at a discounted price. He also reached out to other business owners in the mall and convinced them to donate money for the cause. David's efforts paid off, and they were able to raise enough money to pay for Sarah's mother's treatment. Sarah was grateful beyond words, and David knew that he had made a difference in her life. But Sarah's mother's illness took a toll on her, and she passed away a few months later. Sarah was heartbroken, and David did everything he could to support her. He was her shoulder to cry on and her rock during the tough times. David's love for Sarah only grew stronger, and he knew that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. He proposed to her, and she said yes. They got married in a small ceremony in the mall, surrounded by their friends and family. David's story is a reminder that love can conquer all. Even in the face of tragedy and loss, David and Sarah's love for each other remained strong. They supported each other through the tough times and celebrated together during the good times. Their love was a testament to the power of the human spirit. Chapter 4. The Betrayal. David's business continued to thrive, and he became more successful than ever before. But with success came envy, and David soon found himself at the center of a plot to bring him down. One of David's employees, a young man named Mike, had always been jealous of David's success. Mike had been with David's business from the beginning, but he had never received a promotion or a raise. He saw David's success as a personal insult and decided to take revenge. Mike started stealing from David's shop. He would take small items at first, but his greed soon got the best of him. He started taking more and more until David started to notice a pattern. David couldn't believe that someone he had trusted and cared for could betray him like this. He was heartbroken and angry, but he knew that he had to take action. David called a meeting with all of his employees and confronted them about the theft. Mike tried to deny his involvement, but David had evidence that proved otherwise. Mike finally confessed to stealing from the shop, and David had no choice but to let him go. David was devastated by the betrayal, but he knew that he had to move on. He installed security cameras in his shop and implemented stricter inventory control measures. He also started to pay closer attention to his employees, making sure that he was hiring trustworthy people. David's business continued to thrive, but the betrayal had left a lasting impact on him. He had learned that success can sometimes bring out the worst in people, and that trust is a valuable commodity that should never be taken for granted. David's story is a reminder that even in the face of betrayal, we can learn valuable lessons and come out stronger on the other side. David's experience taught him the importance of taking precautions and being vigilant in protecting his business. He knew that he couldn't let one person's actions define his success, and he continued to work hard and build his empire. Chapter 5. The Idea. After the betrayal of Mike, David was determined to take his business to new heights. He spent countless hours brainstorming ideas and strategies to increase his profits and expand his business. One day, while walking through the mall, David saw a small shop selling handmade soap. He was intrigued by the product and the unique packaging that it came in. He started to wonder if he could create a similar product and sell it in his shop. David did his research and found out that there was a growing market for handmade, natural soaps. He decided to take a risk and invest in creating his own line of handmade soaps. David reached out to a local artisan soap maker and asked for their help in creating his line of soaps. Together, they developed a line of natural, handmade soaps using high-quality ingredients and unique scents. David started selling his soaps in his shop, and they quickly became a hit. Customers loved the unique scents and the fact that the soaps were made with all natural ingredients. David's soap line became so popular that he decided to expand his business even further. He started selling his soaps online and even opened a second location in a different mall. David's decision to invest in handmade soaps was a turning point in his business. He had taken a risk, and it had paid off in a big way. His business continued to grow, and he became known not only for his clothing and accessories, but also for his line of natural, handmade soaps. David's story is a reminder that sometimes taking a risk can lead to great rewards. By investing in his line of handmade soaps, David was able to diversify his business and attract a new customer base. He had taken a chance, and it had paid off in a big way. Chapter 6. The Family Visit. David's success had not gone unnoticed by his family. They had heard about his business and the fact that he had become a successful entrepreneur. His parents, who still lived in their small hometown, had always been proud of David's ambition and drive. One day, David received a call from his mother. She told him that she and his father would be visiting him in the city for the first time since he had started his business. David was thrilled at the news and couldn't wait to show his parents what he had accomplished. When his parents arrived, David took them on a tour of his shop and showed them his line of handmade soaps. His parents were impressed by the quality of the products and the fact that David had created them himself. David took his parents out to dinner and told them all about his business and his plans for the future. His parents were thrilled to see their son doing so well, but they also had some concerns. They worried that David was working too hard and not taking care of himself. They also wondered if he was happy with his life, despite his success. David reassured them that he was happy and that he loved what he was doing. David's parents stayed for a few days, and during that time, David showed them around the city and took them to all of his favorite places. He also took some time off work to spend quality time with them. When it was time for his parents to leave, David felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. He had shown them that he had succeeded in his dreams and that he was happy with his life. David's family visit was a reminder that success is not just about financial gain. It's also about being happy and fulfilled in what you do. David's parents had reminded him of the importance of taking care of himself and making time for the people he loved. David's story is a reminder that no matter how successful we become, we should never forget the people who have supported us along the way. Our families are our greatest cheerleaders, and we should always make time for them, even when we are busy chasing our dreams. Chapter 7. The Thief. David's success had brought some unwanted attention to his business. One day, he received a call from one of his employees, informing him that the shop had been broken into. When David arrived at his shop, he found that the front door had been smashed open and several of his expensive clothing items and accessories had been stolen. David was devastated. He had worked so hard to build his business, and now someone had come along and taken it away from him. David reported the theft to the police, but they told him that there wasn't much they could do without any leads. David was left feeling frustrated and powerless. But David was not one to give up easily. He decided to take matters into his own hands and started investigating the theft himself. He looked through the security footage from the mall and was able to identify a suspect. David knew that he had to act fast if he wanted to catch the thief. He reached out to his network of contacts and was able to locate the suspect's address. He went to the police with this information, and they were able to make an arrest. The thief turned out to be someone who had worked for David in the past. He had stolen from the shop out of desperation as he was struggling financially. David was saddened by the fact that someone he had trusted had betrayed him in this way. David decided to press charges against the thief, but he also wanted to help him turn his life around. He reached out to the man and offered him a job in his shop. He also offered to help him get back on his feet and find a more stable job. The thief was grateful for David's kindness and took him up on his offer. He worked hard in the shop and was eventually able to turn his life around. David had not only caught the thief, but had also helped him to become a better person. David's story is a reminder that sometimes the people who hurt us the most are the ones who need our help the most. By showing compassion and forgiveness, David was able to help someone turn their life around and become a better person. Chapter 8. The Lesson. The theft had been a wake-up call for David. He realized that even though he had built a successful business, there were still some areas where he could improve. He decided to take some time off work to reflect on what he had learned and make some changes. David took a trip to the countryside to clear his mind and think about his priorities. He spent time hiking in the mountains, breathing in the fresh air, and enjoying the beautiful scenery. As he walked, David realized that he had been so focused on his business that he had neglected other areas of his life. He had been working long hours, neglecting his health and relationships, and had even forgotten the importance of having fun and enjoying life. David knew that he had to make some changes if he wanted to be happy and fulfilled. He decided to start by taking better care of himself. He started going to the gym and eating healthier, and he made an effort to spend more time with his friends and family. David also realized that he had been neglecting his employees. He had been so focused on his own success that he had forgotten that they were the ones who had helped him get to where he was. He decided to start treating them better and to offer them more support and benefits. David's trip to the countryside had been a turning point for him. He had learned that success was not just about financial gain, but also about living a balanced and fulfilling life. He had also learned the importance of treating others with kindness and respect. David returned to his business with a new perspective and a renewed sense of purpose. He started implementing the changes he had learned and soon saw the benefits. His employees were happier, his business was thriving, and he was enjoying his life more than ever before. David's story is a reminder that success is not just about what we achieve, but also about how we live our lives. We should strive to be kind, compassionate, and supportive of others, and we should never forget to take care of ourselves along the way. Chapter 9. The Proposal. David's newfound success and happiness had caught the attention of a woman named Rachel. She was a regular customer at his shop, and David had always found her to be kind and charming. One day, Rachel came into the shop and struck up a conversation with David. They talked about everything from fashion to travel, and David found himself enjoying her company more and more. As Rachel was leaving, she turned to David and said, "You know, I've been thinking about this for a while, and I was wondering if you'd like to go out with me sometime." David was taken aback by the suddenness of the proposal, but he was also excited. He had always found Rachel to be attractive and interesting, and he was curious to see where things might go. They arranged to meet for dinner the following weekend, and David spent the next few days nervously preparing for the date. He bought a new outfit, planned out the evening's activities, and even rehearsed some conversation topics in his head. When the night finally arrived, David picked Rachel up from her apartment, and they headed to a fancy restaurant in the city. They had a wonderful time, talking and laughing over a delicious meal. As the night wore on, David found himself feeling more and more drawn to Rachel. She was intelligent, witty, and kind, and he felt like he could talk to her for hours. He realized that he was starting to fall in love with her. At the end of the night, as David was walking Rachel back to her apartment, he mustered up the courage to ask her if she'd like to go out with him again. Rachel smiled and said yes, and they shared a sweet kiss before parting ways. David was over the moon. He had never felt so happy and alive. He knew that Rachel was someone special and that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. David's story is a reminder that sometimes the best things in life come when we least expect them. By being open to new experiences and taking chances, we can find love and happiness in unexpected places. Chapter 10. The Family Visit. David's relationship with Rachel continued to blossom, and they soon became inseparable. They spent every moment they could together, exploring the city and sharing their hopes and dreams for the future. One day, Rachel suggested that they take a trip to visit her family in the countryside. David was excited to meet Rachel's family and get to know them better. When they arrived, Rachel's family welcomed David with open arms. They were warm and friendly, and David felt immediately at home. As they sat down to dinner that night, David listened as Rachel's family shared stories about their lives and their experiences growing up in the countryside. He was struck by their resilience and their commitment to family and community. As the night wore on, Rachel's father turned to David and said, "So David, tell us about yourself. What brings you here?" David took a deep breath and began to share his story. He told them about his humble beginnings, his struggles to build a successful business, and his newfound happiness with Rachel. As he spoke, he realized that he had never really opened up to anyone about his life before. But Rachel's family listened intently, nodding in understanding and offering words of encouragement. When David finished, Rachel's mother took his hand and said, "David, you are a remarkable young man. You have accomplished so much, and yet you remain humble and kind. You are always welcome here as part of our family." David was touched by their words, and he felt a deep sense of gratitude for their kindness and generosity. He realized that he had found a second family in Rachel's loved ones, and he vowed to always be there for them as they had been for him. David's visit to Rachel's family was a powerful reminder that family is not just about blood ties, but about the connections we form with those who love and support us. By opening himself up to new experiences and people, David had found a second home and a deep sense of belonging. Chapter 11. The Theft. Despite David's happiness with Rachel and her family, life was not always easy. David's success had attracted the attention of others, some of whom were not so honest. One day, David arrived at his shop to find that it had been broken into. The cash register had been emptied, and many of his most valuable items were missing. David was devastated. He had worked so hard to build up his business, and now it seemed like everything was falling apart. He felt violated and angry, and he couldn't help but wonder who could have done such a thing. As the police investigated the theft, David found himself becoming more and more suspicious of those around him. He wondered if someone he knew had been involved, and he felt a sense of betrayal and mistrust that he had never experienced before. Rachel tried to comfort David, but he was too consumed by his anger and fear to be comforted. He spent his days poring over security footage and interviewing potential suspects, desperate to find the person responsible for the theft. As the days turned into weeks, David became increasingly exhausted and discouraged. He was starting to lose hope that he would ever find the thief, and he was beginning to feel like giving up on his business and his dreams. But then, one day, a clue surfaced that led David to the thief's doorstep. He confronted the person and demanded an explanation for their actions. At first, the thief denied everything, but as David pressed on, they eventually broke down and admitted their guilt. David was shocked to learn that the thief was someone he had considered a friend. But he was also relieved to finally have an answer to the mystery that had been haunting him for weeks. With the thief brought to justice, David was able to start rebuilding his business and his life. He learned a powerful lesson about trust and betrayal, and he vowed to be more careful in the future about who he let into his life. The theft was a painful experience for David, but it also helped him to grow and to become stronger. It reminded him that success is not just about hard work and determination, but also about resilience and perseverance in the face of adversity. Chapter 12. A Lesson in Forgiveness. After the traumatic experience of the theft, David was hesitant to trust anyone again. He became more cautious and guarded, always on the lookout for any signs of dishonesty or betrayal. However, one day, David received a surprising message from the person who had stolen from him. The message was an apology, a heartfelt plea for forgiveness, and a request for a chance to make amends. David was taken aback by the message. He had expected the thief to disappear into the night, never to be heard from again. But here was this person, owning up to their mistakes and trying to make things right. At first, David was skeptical. He didn't know if he could forgive someone who had caused him so much pain and frustration. But as he read the message over and over again, he started to feel a sense of empathy and compassion for the thief. He realized that everyone makes mistakes, and that forgiveness was a powerful tool for healing and growth. So, he decided to meet with the thief and hear them out. The meeting was awkward and uncomfortable at first. David was still angry and hurt, and the thief was clearly ashamed and remorseful. But as they talked, they started to find common ground and to see each other as human beings, rather than as adversaries. The thief explained that they had been going through a difficult time and had acted out of desperation. They were deeply sorry for what they had done, and they wanted to make things right by helping David rebuild his business and by doing community service. David was moved by the thief's sincerity and willingness to make amends. He realized that forgiveness was not just about letting go of anger and hurt, but also about creating opportunities for redemption and growth. So, he decided to give the thief a chance. Together, they worked on rebuilding the shop, and the thief even brought in new customers and helped to boost sales. Over time, David and the thief became friends. They talked about their lives, their hopes, and their dreams, and they discovered that they had more in common than they had ever imagined. The experience taught David a valuable lesson in forgiveness and empathy. He learned that everyone has the capacity for good and for bad, and that it was up to him to choose which side to focus on. In the end, David was grateful for the experience, painful as it had been. It had helped him to become a better person and a better business owner, and it had taught him the power of forgiveness and compassion. Chapter 13. A New Beginning. With the thief's help, David was able to rebuild his shop and restore his business. He was amazed at how much progress they had made together, and he felt grateful for the thief's support and hard work. As the days went by, David started to feel a sense of hope and optimism that he had not felt in a long time. He realized that he had been given a second chance to pursue his dreams and to make something of himself. So, he decided to take a risk and to invest in a new venture. He had always been interested in fashion and design, and he had a hunch that there was a market for high-quality, affordable clothing in his community. With the thief's help, David started to design and produce his own line of clothing. He worked tirelessly, day and night, pouring his heart and soul into every piece he made. The thief helped him to set up a new shop, and together they started to market and sell David's clothing line. At first, business was slow, and David started to worry that he had made a mistake. But slowly, word started to spread about the quality and affordability of David's clothing. Customers started to flock to the shop, eager to get their hands on the latest designs. Before long, David's clothing line had become a huge success. He had built up a loyal customer base, and his designs were being worn by people all over the city. David felt like he was on top of the world. He had gone from being a poor young man struggling to make ends meet to a successful entrepreneur with a thriving business. But despite his success, David never forgot where he came from. He remained humble and grateful, and he always remembered the lessons he had learned along the way. He continued to work hard, to innovate, and to give back to his community. And he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them with the same courage and determination that had brought him this far. For David, this was not just the end of one chapter, but the beginning of a new one. A chapter filled with hope, opportunity, and endless possibility. Chapter 14. Facing the Consequences. As David's business continued to grow and flourish, he knew that he couldn't keep his past a secret forever. He knew that eventually, the truth about his involvement with the thief would come out, and he would have to face the consequences of his actions. So, David decided to come clean. He went to the police and confessed to his involvement in the theft, explaining how the thief had helped him to rebuild his shop and start his new business. The police were initially skeptical, but after investigating David's story, they realized that he was telling the truth. They were impressed by David's honesty and his willingness to take responsibility for his actions. As a result, David was given a lighter sentence than he had expected. He was ordered to pay a fine and to perform community service, but he was not sent to jail. David felt relieved and grateful for the leniency he had been shown. He knew that he had made a mistake, but he was determined to make things right and to move on with his life. He completed his community service with diligence and commitment, working hard to give back to the community that had supported him through his struggles. And as he served his sentence, David continued to work on his business, pushing himself to new heights of success and achievement. He knew that he had been given a second chance, and he was determined to make the most of it. David's story served as an inspiration to others, showing them that even in the face of adversity and mistakes, it is possible to turn one's life around and to achieve great things. And for David, it was a reminder that no matter how far he had come, he must always remain humble, honest, and committed to doing the right thing. Chapter 15. The Lesson Learned. As David looked back on his journey from a poor young man to a successful entrepreneur, he realized that his biggest lesson was not about business or money. Instead, it was about the power of honesty and integrity. David had learned that no matter how tempting it might be to take shortcuts or to make questionable decisions, the consequences of such actions could be severe and long-lasting. He knew that it was far better to be honest and upfront, even if it meant admitting to mistakes or facing temporary setbacks. David also recognized the importance of giving back to his community and helping others who were in need. He knew that he had been given a second chance, and he wanted to use his success to make a positive impact on the world. So he began to donate a portion of his profits to local charities and organizations that helped people in need. He also started a mentorship program for young entrepreneurs, offering guidance and support to those who were just starting out. Through these actions, David found a sense of purpose and fulfillment that he had never experienced before. He knew that his success was not just about his own personal gain, but about making a positive impact on the world around him. And as David looked ahead to the future, he felt confident and optimistic. He knew that there would be challenges and setbacks along the way, but he also knew that he had the skills, knowledge, and values needed to overcome them. For David, the lesson learned was clear. Success is not just about money or power, but about living with honesty, integrity, and a commitment to making a positive impact on the world.